Hey there, this is Natalie, and with ReZero Season 2 coming to an end, I know a lot of fans are not really looking forward to the prospect of having to wait for Season 3, but are also in two minds about whether to read ahead. So in this video, I want to talk about whether you should, and also how to actually do it if you want to, given that if you're anime only, you've probably heard that there's a web novel, light novels, and a manga, and you may not know what your options are if you want to pick straight up where Season 2 ends off. To answer a couple of the most important questions first, ReZero is not finished as a story yet, so you can't find out how it ends by reading ahead. But it is currently on arc 7 of a planned 11 arcs, and Season 2 of the anime covered only arc 4. Arc 4 is the longest arc so far by a lot, but most people do still expect arcs 5 and 6 to be a season each. So essentially you can read what will happen in the next two seasons straight away, and then you can follow arc 7 as it's released, and I'll get onto that in a moment. But how do you read it? Well, actually that choice is quite easy at the moment, if you want to read ReZero in English. The way ReZero is produced is that the author Tappei Nagatsuki releases his first draft as a free web novel, chapter by chapter, and then he refines that into the light novel releases. The anime and manga are both based on the light novels, though with different changes in their adaptations. For a long time, the light novels were quite far behind the web novel, but at the end of last year, with the end of arc 6, Tappei got them pretty much in line, and at the current point in time, the latest chapters of the web novel, which are the first 12 chapters of arc 7, are about to be released as the first arc 7 light novel volume, which is ReZero Volume 26. The trouble is, the official English translations of the light novels by Yen Press are slow to come out, and actually they only just got caught up to the anime, despite there being 2 more complete arcs out in Japanese and a new one in progress. Arc 5, which is what you'll want to start if you want to get straight into post-anime content, will start coming out in English soon, but it will take its sweet time to complete. So if you want to read it now, there are only the fan translations of the web novel, so that decision is made for you. The best known source of good fan translations for ReZero is Witch Cult Translations, and that's where you should go if you want to read ahead in English. And I'll put a link in the description, as well as a link to Tappei's original web novel if you want to read it in Japanese. The translations you can read at Witch Cult Translations are high quality, and they work fast too. They've been getting the new arc 7 chapters done very quickly, so once you're up to date and ready to start following ReZero as it comes out, you won't have to wait too long for the latest chapters Tappei puts out to be fully translated and available to read for free. Though if you want to know what happens in the new chapters even before that, I put out chapter summaries on my channel within a few hours of chapters being released in Japanese too, and so does my friend Jake Z123. Usually Jake puts out a concise summary almost immediately after the Japanese chapter release, and then I put out a longer one a couple of hours later. And when Tappei's releasing new chapters, he goes hard at it, with chapters in some cases coming out almost every day, or in the case of the end of arc 6 back in October, sometimes even twice a day. So it's pretty hype and exciting following them and discussing it all, especially because Tappei doesn't reveal when the chapters are coming until right before he uploads them. Because the web novel itself is free in Japanese, there's nothing illegal or sketchy about enjoying the fan translations either. Another great thing about reading the web novel with Witch Cult Translations is that they also have translations of a lot of side stories, including the famous ReZero Ifruits, and so you can read a lot of interesting extra stuff too. So that's how to read ahead, but should you? Is it going to be as good an experience as waiting to watch the anime without spoilers? Is the web novel even going to be the same story as the anime? Well, although the anime does adapt the light novels rather than the web novel, ReZero isn't one of those stories where the original web novel is completely different from the light novels, like say Rising of the Shield Hero. The arc with the biggest changes between the web novel and light novels was definitely arc 4, which is what we saw in season 2, because the web novel version of arc 4 was insanely long. actually about 3 times the length of the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it was streamlined a lot for the light novels and anime. But even there, the main plot of the arc and the big developments for the characters remained the same. The web novel version just had a lot more detail, with longer versions of major conversations and fights, some extra loops that were merged together in the light novel or cut all together, and more complicated ways of arriving at some of the big story moments. The only characters you'll find to be massively different in Arc 4 if you read the web novel are the sentient Ryuzu clones, because there are more of them and they have different names, as well as a more complicated involvement in Subaru uncovering the mysteries of the sanctuary. Still, now that Tappei is working on the same part of the story for the web novel and light novels at the same time, the changes are likely to become even smaller, with the light novel being the final draft of something he wrote recently, rather than his attempt to refine down something he wrote a long time ago and has had a lot of new ideas about. Basically, if you read the web novel, you'll still be getting a version close to the final story, and the characters won't feel jarringly different to how you know them from the anime. That's not to say there are no changes at all, but as a web novel reader, you have the option to either not find out what was changed, so you'll still have some surprises in the anime, which is what I did with Arc 4 actually, or you can find lists made by Japanese speakers that detail the major changes in each arc. Another great thing about reading the web novels now the light novels are caught up is that while the web novel doesn't have any pictures, you can easily find the corresponding artwork from the Japanese light novels and see what the new characters and settings look like. But will you enjoy reading ahead? Well, unless you just straight up hate reading, in which case you probably already know the answer, then yes, you probably will. The web novel is a good read, and the translations are well done, and Arcs 5 and 6 are both excellent, with Arc 5 seeing a lot of action and the return of a lot of characters people have been missing from Season 1, like the Royal Selection candidates and their knights. Then Arc 6 goes deep into some of the most mysterious stuff in the ReZero world, as well as having some of the darkest scenes in the story so far. They're also far more normal length arcs for this type of series than the behemoth that is web novel Arc 4. Don't get me wrong, I personally think the web novel version of Arc 4 is the best version, but it's also spectacular in its girth. And so if you're wondering whether you have the time or even just want to commit to reading ReZero, then now being able to start with Arc 5 as an anime only is going to feel a lot more accessible than staring down Arc 4 did at the end of Season 1. If you get into it, you could probably get through Arcs 5 and 6 in a week fairly comfortably. And with new chapters for Arc 7 set to start coming out again literally any day now, it's never been a better time to get fully caught up and enjoy the hype and community around the web novel. Of course, once you're caught up, there's still plenty more content you can read if you want more, like the If Roots, the X novels, which are prequel light novels that do have official English translations available, and other prequel novels like Oni Sisters of the Hidden Village, which is about how Rem and Ram first came to work for Roswell, and Frozen Bond, which was the source material for the OVA. You can also go back and read the arcs covered in the anime to get more detail about the world. And of course, you can also go deep into the rabbit holes of ReZero theories, while having a lot more information to go on and mysteries to think about. There is really no downside to getting caught up with the web novel, and if you're worried that you won't enjoy Season 3 as much when it eventually does come out, if you already know what will happen in it, I would say that most people who've read ahead, including me, are actually looking forward to Season 3 even more than they would be if they didn't know what was in it, purely because it's full of stuff that's definitely going to look amazing animated, and we're just hyped to see it. The same applies to Arc 6, though for different reasons. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I make a lot of ReZero web novel content and I'd really love it if you wanted to watch it. But I do cover other anime and manga too, so this isn't just me desperately trying to get you to read the web novel so you don't all forget about me during what will be at least a year-long break between ReZero anime seasons. I genuinely do think that if you loved Season 2 and want to get deeper into ReZero, both in terms of seeing what happens next and still having lots of new ReZero stuff to talk about and a good fan community to do it in, then binging the web novels is about the best way you can spend your downtime after the final episode airs. But what do you guys think about reading ahead? As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and of course, please consider subscribing because I will be continuing to make both anime-only safe and web novel content about ReZero on a regular basis, as well as theories, analysis and news for other series including Attack on Titan. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon.